Yuck! Oh, I just realized it, that his belly is holding the letters. Like he writes these nasty letters and then just slips them in these belly holes. Ugh.
Ladies and gentlemen, dudes, Papa here. So I'm actually going to change this part up in the WIP just a little tiny bit because I've learned some things, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But I thought this is a perfect time to bring up announcements or news or things like that, things that we cover in the Discord, just real quick little blurbs, say there's a poll or something like that. This is a good spot for it. And if I can get this out quick, then y'all can see your cool projects later on. Now, I just mentioned that I've learned a few things. Now let me touch on those real quick. One of the things I've learned is that looking at a photo while I'm kind of giving this little intro section is super boring. And if it bores me and I'm the one that made it and I'm the one that is trying to convince people to like my stuff, I'm sure the majority of everyone else just skips ahead to the WIPs, and that's fine. But still, it's boring, and I don't want that. And speaking of boring, I'm probably going to start adding in some pretty cool transitions or flashy effects or pop-ups on the side of the screen, things like that to make it seem more interactive and less of just a static screen and things show up and then it shifts and then things show up and then it shifts. And hey, there's my cool thing, and then it shifts. That's lame, and I can do better than that, and all of you deserve better than that. So I'm going to start adding a little bit more creative juices into this whole thing, and we'll just see where that takes us. Now, I just mentioned that this is a great spot for news, and I'd like to kind of use this to push something that I'm thinking about here for the channel. What I'd like to start doing is a channel challenge. Now, the channel challenge will look something like this. I'll come up with a topic, and then I'll have a catch. For instance, let's say I want you to use whatever medium of your choice, either a model, a diorama, a sketch, a paint, whatever. Try to capture hope, right? But the catch is you can only use 2 colors, or you have to use loaded brush, or you can't use any color at all. Now, the point of this is to help us all push ourselves and grow, because you're never going to grow just by remaining static. You're never going to grow. I mean, you might get faster. Let's be real. You might get faster and more confident and comfortable in those hard to reach areas, but you're never going to push yourself. And honestly, I think that's kind of pivotal in determining your style, right? Because you're not going to know that stippling is super your style if you never stipple, or if NMM is something you're actually super good at if you never do NMM. So I want to start doing monthly channel challenges. Now, participation is not mandatory, obviously, but if you do decide to participate, there's going to be a separate channel called Channel Challenge where you'll be able to post your updates, and at the end of the month, I'll take the finished products and we can kind of discuss and look at, and we can show the viewers, or just each other in these videos in the Discord, our progress and our status. And hopefully, as a group, we'll be able to help each other out. And there's some people that are going to be amazing at the NMM, and we can ask them questions. It's a great time for them to shine. And then that might not be awesome with loaded brush or something like that. So this is a cool time for all of us to kind of test ourselves, to flex a little bit, to kind of spread out, right? So that's one thing coming down the pipe. Also, I want to host a hobby house painting competition. This is more intended for people that haven't really competed before, to get to understand the process. So as I put out a poll a while ago, and several of you were willing to be judges, and a lot of you wanted to be competitors. And there might be, honestly, like a, not rookie, but a inexperienced and then an experienced category, right? Now, this is the time where all of our suppliers and endorsers and sponsors, if you guys want to participate, and just like a little, even just like a discount code, or a box of Space Marines or something, or a tiny sample of paint or whatever it's going to be, right? This would be awesome because it's a cool time for our community and this hobby house to come together and start really building each other up. Now, my intent is for this thing to start February. That would give me a couple months to talk to some suppliers and sponsors and get some good supplies or awards locked in. That'll also give me a chance to talk to people who are going to be judges. That way we can determine how they're going to score, what they need to do or what they need to receive in order to score a picture appropriately, or at least so that it's not like, well, this person has a crappy camera, so their model looks bad, but this person's model isn't that great, but they took a great picture. So we'll try and figure out the best way to standardize photos. And then it would probably be a 3 to 4 month work time, and then about a month of judging and then handing out awards. So like June-ish time frame will be over. I'd like to hold 2 a year once we start getting this thing all fleshed out, but we'll see where it goes. I know a lot of you have mentioned that you'd like to do one of these things, and I think it's good to start getting that ball rolling. Going back to things I learned, I have learned that I say some iteration of the word love a lot. So what I'm going to do, more or less just to like kind of ridicule myself and remind myself of my need to stretch out a little bit, I'm going to have like a little counter in the bottom one of the screen. And hopefully as time goes on, that number will dwindle to a normal amount. So hopefully I'll get better and I'll be able to use more eloquent phraseology for discussing your awesome projects. But yeah, just saying I love everything probably isn't going to cut it anymore. All right, now the news is finally done. Let's take a look at what I've been working on so we can get that out of the way and talk about all the cool stuff you guys have submitted. Ladies and gents, let's get started by taking a look at the stuff I've worked on this week. First off, the custodians. Hey, they have heads now. Yay! Look at that. They have skin, and they have hair, and they have heads. We're entering a cool phase in the project where their heads can actually be on, and I think that's awesome. Not necessarily my work is awesome, but that we're getting to a point where they can have a face, and I can start pretending that they're people, and they have stories, and I'm weird like that. But that's not the point. The point is they have heads now. Next, I decided to test out my new Anycubic Photon Mono by using the Loot Studios Heroes. And these guys printed out in like 2 hours. And it's insane. And then you just run hot water over them and their supports fall off. Incredible. I absolutely love these models. Next, I am building up a Blood Bowl team. Everything's from Hero Forge, but this guy here is a Minotaur I have for my Chaos Lords. I can't wait to paint him up because I think it's going to be a cool addition to the Chaos people. And then these guys are my Norse. Now, I've tried finding Norse people everywhere, but they are so expensive, or the models are incredibly old, or they're all metal. So I went on Hero Forge and I made my own. Here I have 2 throwers. They have kind of a stag type helmet on with antlers. Then I have 2 runners here with wolf heads on. Pretty cool. Then I have blitzers. These guys have bear heads. And then I have linemen. These guys just regular heads. But of course, they have the Viking man bun. So you know they're going to do well. Let's take a look at your works in progress. First up, we have Sasha. If I remember correctly, this was a Photoshop rendering of a nighttime cityscape on a highly chrome type surface. I think he's going to try and replicate that on this guy's arm. Can't wait to see the process there. Here is that tribal shaman looking guy. I think the colors are coming along very well. It's a unique skin tone. It reminds me almost like the Predator. You just need fishnets here, bud. You just need fishnet arms, sleeves, and legs, and then that'll be the Predator. Because I mean, he's got the skulls. It's feeling pretty Predator-ish, but it still looks good. And I want to print this thing off. All right, add it to the files. Next, we have the zenithal highlighting, and then the contrasting layering over here. I don't know, that's what he said. Putting in the muscle fibers, it looks awesome. Look, you see the individual fibers of the muscles on this rather creepy hyena demon dog thing. But it looks cool. Next, Shades of War Studios on this white dragon. I think he said this was the
after the base coat, and then the shade, and then a dry brush, and then another shade. I think it looks good. I love dragons. There's a bigger piece like this because the dry brushing actually picks up so much detail, and the dry brushing does a lot of work for you. The dry brushing and the shading on these bigger pieces does so much of the work for you. Okay, now we have Space Toy working on that little red panda thing from Cobra Mode. You can see that we have a little bit of NMM in here going in. We have our basic shadows and highlights in the face. Such a cool little model. All right, and here's the progress on this Viking warrior lady. I just love the NMM, the blue steel on her armor pieces. And then he had mentioned here, I'm pointing to the screen with my finger, not the mouse. He had mentioned here on the base that he didn't want to go overboard with the snow. I think it looks really nice. It looks believable, but you can definitely tell it adds some character to it. Next, we have Hellhound Minis. In this photo with this zombie dude, she's trying out the Scale 75 Instant Color range. I think does a great job, especially with the skin here, and then the wood, and then the brains. We were discussing a little bit that the black needs probably 2 coats or a coat and a shade, because it definitely dries pretty light. But for other colors, it looks pretty good. And then here we have a bust. Now, are you going to be using oils or regular acrylics for this? I'm curious. Either way, I think this is going to be a pretty good opportunity for some cool flesh tones. I think it gets some good reference pictures in the background there. And it's always good to brush your teeth, I guess. No, it's for the model. I'm sure it's for the model. Whatever. Next, painting coach. Showing off the text here. Now, are these transfers? I know that on some things there are text transfers, but either way, that is awesome. Now, I have always struggled with banners. I've always struggled with text. I generally just paint this and be like, maybe they're just not named yet. All right, BB Miniatures showing off some Gloom Spike Gits. Now, I think that's what they are. I know they're squigs. Whatever. These are such an awesome display of contrast, because here you have this cool blue NMM, and then you have this bright, vibrant flesh of these squigs. But each one, both in the armor and then in the squigs, you get to these just almost pure black shadows, but you can still see just a hint of color. So cool. And are these the colors you're using? Those are some very bright, almost like, are those fluorescent? I don't know. Those are some bright colors. Well done. Pixel Mini Forge. I think this is an old metal librarian, chaplain. I don't know. Old models. Either way, found this and he's working on it. And this, I believe, was a previous commission that he's almost done with. I think this is another good use of color theory. You have the orange here, the fiery red and the orange, and then you have this kind of a bright blue and then a very, very vibrant green. And something else, I love this backdrop. I love the plinth with the background. Looks really good. Will Paints doing some NMM for this little night kitty. Well done. NMM is something I really do want to try, but there are so many other things on my plate that I have to get done with first that it seems like I wouldn't have time for that. And that's just the excuse I give myself. But you guys do it well. Cryptic Sun Studios. What a shame. What happened? Was it a drop or was it just packaged weird? That sucks. At least you're able to glue it back together, but still. Now this one, I like this because I think you're talking about how you cut these out from tin or whatever this metal, and then you strap them on here. It adds such a cool detail to your models. Really awesome. And then here, Shelby Studios. This is what I was talking about. I know I had mentioned his Tau before, but I think this is my favorite Tau army I've ever seen. And I think it's because it's a contrast of two art styles. And it might not be that way. It just might just be the way I'm seeing it. But for the Tau, you have what look almost artistic and stylized, right? The lines are perfect and everything is pristine and everything is blocked out, and it seems almost cartoony, not in a fake and don't take it seriously way, like a well drawn, I don't know, anime or something. But then you have these ultra realistic looking bases, and it's such a cool combination of the two art styles. Here we have Molinar 85. Now I'm actually doing the Custodes commission for him, but he decided to try out painting for the first time in a couple decades, I think it was. And I gotta say, it's very impressive. You have very clean lines. Everything is where it should be. You have bases, you have texture, you have lighting effect. I mean, you have plasma. It looks good. I like your brass, your brass, and then it looks like wood. That's good job, man. And then we have the Happy Heretic here. Remember, he was having some troubles finding kind of a cheaper alternative to GW's Wraithbone. I had suggested Rust-Oleum's Khaki Camo. It is a couple shades darker, but if you're able to hit it with a zenithal white highlight, things like contrast paints actually pick up that zenithal really well, and it works. Now, Happy Heretic likes using oils, so I'm not really sure how oils work with zenithal or those kind of things, but I think this looks disgusting. But that's good because that's what Nurgle likes. All right, now let's take a look at your completed projects. First up, we have Battle Standard painting. Look at this destructive Bug-O-Death. I love the colors, these bright shell and the gradiated carapace. Then you have this bone white. But I think my favorite part is this, you have this fleshy orange gun, but in it you have these white blue recesses, or you have these other sections here, and then you have the blue on the actual shell itself on a very cool looking base. Now, is this static grass? It looks like static grass because just the shape is pretty irregular. You don't have that distinct outline of tufts. I'm very curious. Either way, it looks really good. And here we have a completed workstation for Battle Standard. Good job. This is a Hobby Zone setup. And I looked into Hobby Zone and I was surprised that the prices were as good as they were until I tried shipping to the US. And then I lost my gourd a little bit when it almost doubled in price. But I am proud and happy for you that you get to have it Battle Standard. Looks good. Micah, I told you I'd put them in here, so here they are. Micah and his wife made some cookies, and here are the completed projects. Now, normally I wouldn't talk about how tasty and delicious things look in this video, but if you show me some pictures of some delicious looking cookies, I will tell you how much I want to eat them. Shades of War Studios is back. This is not the normal photo dump, but this is kind of our completed project here. We have our Invictors back here, our Impulsors back here, our bikes, the Outriders over here, Eradicators, then you have the Aggressors, Eliminators, Chaplain on a bike, Blade Guard Ancient, 2 Lieutenants, Standard Intercessors, I think, Assault Intercessors, a lot of Assault Intercessors. Oh, are those more Eradicators? Yep, they are back there. And then you have the Outrider Captain, looks good, and then the Justiciar, awesome. The customer had specifically requested them not be based, and that hurts me. I love basing my models. I think basing helps tell the story, and I think you really miss out by not being able to tell that story with the base. That being said, the customer gets what they want and ultimately what they pay for. So that being said, these guys are awesome. Great white scars, man. Then we come to this gross dude. This model always creeps me out because that is a giant weird mouth. But I like the colors. I like the vibrant blue and purple next to that kind of almost muted slimy green. And I had mentioned in the chat that I think that the Nurglings and the Orcs have the most fun out of everybody. Yuck! Oh, I just realized it, that his belly is holding the letters. Like he writes these nasty letters and then just slips them in these belly holes. Ugh. Anyway, when you find out, when you look at these things and then you see that kind of stuff, it just really gives you a whole new appreciation. But you painted it well, though. I think he said this is going to go on eBay. Which is nice, being able to paint something to kind of break up the monotony of big commissions and things like that. Next, we have Pixel Mini Forge and this Chaos Dwarfy looking dude. This is so cool. I love the base and the frost. Is this Green Stuff World Liquid Frost? Because if it is, I commend you. I love... Oh, there we go again with all those loves. Well, that's true, though. I love it. I love this stuff. It's awesome. I like the colors we have here. We have the red and the deep black and then the green. But my favorite is this green and purple. It's like a summoning of a weird demon-y thing with this green fire. I like it a lot. Next, we have the Happy Heretic and his Chaosy Death Guard Gross Boy. Now, this is how you base a Death Guard. You just litter it with skeleton pieces and skulls. I am blown away at what you're able to do with oils, man. It just looks so grimy, but it looks great. Hellhound Minis. Now I know I showed this one off earlier. Oh well. So I'll just talk more about this one. This is a Illidan looking goblin holding a little voodoo doll. Now something cool about this model are the wings. I love how you made this look like just the membranes look so real. And they're so tiny. These models are so stinking tiny. Great job, Hellhound. All right, we have Space Toy showing off his final goblin project. You got the metal shoulder pad. You got the leather shoulder pad. I love the gradient from this just soft pink belly to this dark green. Oh, the dark green's over. Look at that. Really just sells texture and shape of the head. Great job. And then this looks like a Dark Angels librarian? I'll just say that. In Terminator armor. I remember that. I love this look. It just looks really cool. It's kind of muted. It's not super punchy unless it's this gold. That looks really good. It looks almost like impressionist art, especially here on the head. These lines, they're not perfect, but they're intentionally imperfect. And it gives you kind of like a hint of that person's, but almost like not a Rembrandt. I don't know. I'm trying to sound all arty. But whatever. Impressionism. I know it's a thing, all right? And it means something along the lines of, you can look at a thing and you can tell that's a dude, but it's not like you snapped a picture of a dude. There you go. That's Definitions by Trevor. Thank you very much. Then we have this guy here. Now, I have the same model, and I really wanted to do something with it where it's like the guy's picking up a whole bunch of rocks and stuff from the base and about to fling it somewhere. But then I realized that would just take a lot of time. And so I didn't. And if I remember correctly, this one, he had used oils. I think this one is the one he'd used oils to finish it with. But it looks good. I like the base. It looks all mossy and gross. Algae. All right. This is Space Toy's daughter. Well, I mean, that's a ghost riding a zombie horse, but this is the work that his daughter has done. Look at this gradient. That is incredible. From almost a pure white to a dark blue. I love the contrast of the orange horns and then the blue there. Now get this. She's 11 years old. Honestly, I am super excited to see any work that she starts pumping out. That is amazing. Well done. And then finally, we have Origin Paintings. I think it's a Blood Angel on a modified jet bike. Now, I say Blood Angel because you got this wine glass with a drop of blood in it, you nasty freaks. And because of that helmet there. Either way, I love this model, and I like the conversion. I think it looks awesome. I think it looks great. Good job, Origin. That is it. That's the end of the WIP. Thank you so much for submitting your photos. Thank you so much for participating. And hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye.